remember when the internet first discovered some of the early pictures of you from your public access days in Austin. I remember the girls being almost horrified, like with this cognitive dissonance, like we're supposed to look at him as a screaming, spitting monster, and yet these pictures are disturbingly handsome. And you obviously from the beginning had a kind of charisma, a natural charisma from the camera. That's what people even said the first time they saw you.
I mean, Glenn, do you and Alex need a room? Talking about how handsome you find him, like complimenting him, giving a public tongue bath. Like, what's going on here? You guys need a room? Now, that was Glenn Greenwald interviewing Alex Jones and telling him how handsome, what a handsome gentleman he is. We're talking about the same Alex Jones who terrorized the victims of Sandy Hook by referring to them as crisis actors who are working for the government to take people's guns away. The same Alex Jones who spewed those lies and led his audience to viciously and violently target parents who lost their children in the Sandy Hook shooting. I can never get over the story of the Posner family who had to move 7 different times because Alex Jones targeted them with his lies. And this is after they lost their little boy in that shooting. But Alex Jones, according to Glenn Greenwald, very handsome. Okay, I mean, look, different strokes for different folks, homie, if that's what you're into. Good for you, I guess. I mean, but let's get to some more of this interview that happened. Because look, I get it. Sometimes when you're interviewing someone, especially someone you want to challenge, someone you disagree with, you might want to ease your way into the tough questions, right? So you might start off even a little complimentary in the beginning, right? Friendly, cordial, get them to put the walls down, put their guard down, and then you can start hitting them with the hard questions. But that's not what happened during this interview. Now, this was an interview meant to promote some documentary about Alex Jones. You see a woman in the panel who doesn't really say anything. She's the documentarian, I guess. She barely speaks throughout this entire exchange. I watched the entire interview, and it was amazing how it just turned out to be nothing more than a massive PR exercise to rehabilitate the reputation of a man who is insane, who has victimized people who have lost their children in mass shootings, who has spewed the most insane conspiracy theories, and has made $165 million over the last 3 years selling ridiculous supplements and prep gear to his audience. But let's hear more from this exchange. I want to hear more about the whole Sandy Hook situation. Let's watch.
I want to ask you a little bit about Sandy Hook. I know the expectation is I'm supposed to come here and bash you over the head about Sandy Hook. I have no interest in hearing that. I don't care what the expectations are. It would bore me if I tried. You talk for hours about it. People interested in the particulars should go watch that if they want. I'm not going to jump through hoops in order to appease people angry, but I'm here. I do though want to ask you that question that I'm actually interested in myself, which is, you just said that you have made mistakes. Obviously, one of those is this episode about Sandy Hook. We watched you in the film, come very clean about the fact that you made statements that turned out to be untrue. You've obviously spent a lot of kind of reflective time as like the soulful Alex Jones. What is it that you think caused you to do that? I mean, you referenced some things that I identify with it myself. That when people who lie for a living are telling you that you're a liar, when people who are whose job it is to spread this information are accusing you of doing it, you kind of want to dig in a little bit and not give an inch to people who are criticizing you in good faith.
So in asking Alex Jones about the vicious lies he told about the victims of Sandy Hook, Glenn Greenwald offers a question that includes a good cover story for why Alex did what he did. It's just that Alex is such he's quizzical, right? He's suspicious of the establishment. He's suspicious of the establishment's lies. And so when children are gunned down in this country, a normal person will question whether or not those children were really gunned down. maybe their grieving parents are just crisis actors, because of course you want to immediately question the validity of what's being reported by the establishment. You see, Alex Jones is actually a great person who maybe got it wrong once, just once, right? Just once, right, Glenn? Glenn, who 4 years ago referred to InfoWars as garbage, and now is filleting Alex Jones publicly for the whole world to see. Again, please get a room. No, I mean, what was that? You know, people like Glenn Greenwald love to point to the fact that I interviewed Madeleine Albright once. And guess what? Watch the whole interview, watch it. I said it was a pleasure and honor to interview you. You know why? Because I wanted to get her guard down and I want to ask her tough questions, which I did. Confronted her about the fact that she said that women, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support Hillary Clinton. This was in 2016. I asked her about that. She got very snippy. Asked her questions about her support for Saudi Arabia. Those are actual tough questions. Now, I didn't punch her in the face because I wanted her to answer my questions, but that's not what Glenn Greenwald did here. It was like nonstop, like, hey, you want a handy? Why not? Why not? And his buddy Matt Taibbi felt the need to go after like Sam Cedar for being critical of this interview. Nah, watch the interview for yourselves. It's 40 minutes long. There wasn't a single hard question asked. The whole point was Alex Jones. You know, sometimes he makes mistakes. He's human after all, but he's a fighter for the truth. He's working against the establishment. He's an American hero. Let's watch more.
What is it about kind of how social media works, about how kind of groups function? Have you thought about some of the psychological and cultural dynamics that led you to make some of those mistakes in Stanley Hook? And I think it's interesting, I've identified with this with myself, and I think you start out as kind of this outsider, you start out as like an access TV, you start growing a little bit in influence, and suddenly you become, I think, one of the most influential people in the country with one of the largest audiences. It's hard, I think, sometimes to remind yourself, I'm not that guy on access TV and Austin anymore, because it wasn't all that long ago when you weren't getting so much scrutiny, and then suddenly you're subjected to more scrutiny than anybody. And I think it's hard to try and, kind of adapt with that, because it's kind of a slow and incremental. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You're doing a better job than my own PR agent, Glenn. Thank you. That's exactly it. I'm a victim of my own success. That's what happened. You know, it turns out that I have all this influence and I have an audience, and I didn't realize that I had a responsibility to not lie about the parents of Sandy Hook victims. Children who were viciously gunned down in their school. I didn't know that was the wrong thing to do because I was a victim of my own success. Come on, man. No, this is embarrassing, Glenn. It's just embarrassing. It's like I throw up in my mouth a little bit watching it. It's like how do you get yourself to do it? Like, when is enough enough? Like, who has dirt on? Like, I can't believe that it's just about the money with Glenn. There's more to it. There's more to it. Because how do you debase yourself like this publicly? And it's also the same narrative that we hear from people like Glenn Greenwald, who doesn't really seem to care much about anyone on the left who wrongly gets censored on social media platforms, but it seems to be very hyper-focused on defending Alex Jones and his ban, like fighting back against his ban on Twitter and other platforms. Oh, he's such a victim. And it's not about Alex Jones. It's not about Alex Jones or the lies that he told. It's really about protecting freedom of speech. No one buys it. We all know that at this point, there's something going on. You're compromised in some way. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe you are getting funding from people like Peter Thiel, who literally spied on you. It was a big story back in 2013. And that's enough to convince you to turn your back on anything decent, politically, socially. All of a sudden, you're just literally doing PR work for the worst people in the country. Okay, great. By the way, just to give you an idea of what Alex Jones did and the lies he pushed. In one 2015 show, Jones told his listeners, Sandy Hook is synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured. In other episodes, he mocked Sandy Hook parents weeping over the deaths of their children. Jones even shared addresses, maps, and personal information associated with the families of Sandy Hook victims, including revealing information about Lenny Posner. So the Posner family, they're the ones I was talking about earlier. They lost their son in that horrific shooting. And they were further victimized by Alex Jones and his audience, who were terrorizing them, forcing them to move 7 different times. Posner said that he has had to move, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. He hasn't had to move 7 times. He's had to move about a dozen times since the shooting to evade Jones's followers. In 2017, InfoWars listener and Sandy Hook conspiracist Lucy Richards was sentenced to 5 months in prison for sending death threats to him. Today, Posner lives in hiding and goes to multiple post office boxes to receive his mail. Despite his efforts, individuals occasionally call and file false reports, police reports on Posner in attempts to get him in trouble with local law enforcement. Real classy. Just absolute scum of the earth individuals victimizing this family that has gone through so much already. And they did it under the direction of Alex Jones, who is now getting his reputation rehabilitated from Glenn Greenwald. So go ahead, share that picture that I took with Madeleine Albright again. Please do it, go ahead. It's all you've got. That I took a picture with a woman who I then did a decent interview with. But that was so disgusting. I mean, I would think that the right wing would be horrified by that display of affection between 2 men. But no, I mean, as long as you're rehabilitating the image of someone who has spewed the worst garbage, it's totally fine with the right wing. Anyway, Glenn caught some feelings over critics. Who cares? Keep crying about it. We get to criticize you as much as we like if you can't handle it. But you should answer some questions about what motivated you to go from calling InfoWars garbage just 4 years ago to now helping to rehabilitate the reputation of Alex Jones. Explain yourself. I'm very curious. It's a total 180. And I don't think it's just about the money.